Alright, so what happened last time? Um, we talked to Coach Irie about Satoko's tragic home situation, um, and how like he wanted to be protective of her. That's fine. Then Shion, we told her about Satoshi, and now we thought he ran away because that's what we were told, and she got triggered. Then we told Rena we did this, and she got triggered. She said it was Oyashiro-sama's curse. She started freaking out. And then Mion got triggered, and she smacked the crap out of her. And then Mion told us, we don't talk about that. So we kind of agreed to this weird small town life where you just kind of just don't talk about the bad stuff that happens. So everyone can just be chill. And the tips, we just learned that over a game of Mahjong, Detective Delicious learned some new facts about that corpse from the beginning and how it was probably related to the Sonozakis. But we kind of already knew that because the way with or we figured it out because the torture method, right? The nails in the hands. I was thinking Ryukishi's writing style, sometimes it works out. Like it's very formulaic. Sometimes it works out. And you get something compelling. But sometimes you get that third chapter where you get like a lot of dialogue and screen presence of a character you're never going to see again. When what you want is character development between two characters, like the chapter 2 or the second part of this chapter. He's going to be dealing with Silent Hill. He's going to be writing Silent Hill, I think F. The good thing is that even if he does what he usually does, I think he'll be fine. Because Silent Hill is so bad now. It's kind of coming from a Silent Hill fan. That he can pretty much do whatever he wants, and it will be an improvement over what Silent Hill is now. Yep. Let's go.
おはよう、ケイチ。あら、ゆうべは何時に寝たの？
I didn't go to sleep. All my friends are going crazy. I did not sleep well last night at all, you don't say. My mother could tell from a single glance. I had the worst dreams. Nightmares, very ominous dreams, one after the other, again and again. I woke up after each one and could never, ever even remember a fraction of what they had been about. Really? But it was like those dreams were predicting something unpleasant. And I woke up in a terrible mood. Hey now, every day has been calm and fun before today, right? Those days should continue on, unchanging. And yet, anxiety was the only emotion growing within me. Yeah, join us in this fucking hell pit. Why was that? Nightmares reflect your own anxiety. They show an uneasy mind, that which you wouldn't admit to normally. Maybe. They could also mean nothing. I remembered the ominous conversations about Satoshi I had with Shion, Mion, and Rena. Right. My mind felt like it was a black fog because we had talked about that. If I had lived every day without causing a fuss, my reward would be ever more peaceful days. I understood that, so why did I cause such discord? But now that I thought about it calmly, a simple verbal slip on my part couldn't possibly change the world. Yeah, as long as I'm sorry for doing it and never talking about it again, there's nothing that anyone can blame me for, right? I don't know, people start blaming you for anything. Besides, how would my fate possibly change just because I talked about that? Nothing was going to change. Yep. Nothing would change. Nothing would change. Nothing would change. Oh no. I mustn't run away. I mustn't run away.
気持ち悪い笑い。寝ぼけてるなら顔を洗ってらっしゃい。
I'd finally cheered up enough to smile, and Mom slapped me right back down. Now that I was irritated again, he was so depressed he went crazy a little bit. He started he's just so sad it became funny to him. Damn. There wasn't much time left before I had to meet up with Rena. I frantically started to get ready to go to school. Maybe not scared, maybe,
いってらっしゃい。
or not sad, but scared. Have a good day.
車に気をつけるのよ。
気をつけるほど車もいないよ。南沢には。
I dashed out the front door. The morning air was far more refreshing than the water on my face. That's right, Keiichi Maibara. If you're sorry enough about it and reflect upon your mistakes, that's enough. Now let's pull yourself together and get to school. And return to fun, enjoyable days, where everyone laughs, plays, and has a good time. I'll be nice to Satoko as an apology, too. Yeah. Wasn't I supposed to be her Nini until Satoshi got back? And then here's Rena. Oh yeah, I forgot about that part. Rena too looked nothing like she had yesterday when she said that weird stuff. If only I could forget, and I could still act like nothing happened. So I called out to her with all the energy I could muster.
おう、おはようレナ。相変わらず早いな。
Oh, the fake cheerfulness. Fake it till you make it, I guess.
おはよう。
おはようございます。
There was little time before the same old morning homeroom began. But Satoko and Rika were unusually absent. Maybe they went to play somewhere? However, looking over and seeing none of their things, so it looked like they really hadn't come to school.
あれれ、あの二人が遅刻なんて珍しいね。
Rena seemed to be enjoying herself, thinking about what their excuse for being late would be. Mian said something nonsensical as well, imagining how funny the reason they were late must have been. I had only come to school to see their energetic faces, since I figured it would get rid of these feelings I have. But the load on my chest remained where it was. It wasn't very pleasant at all.
おはようございます、皆さん。委員長、号令。
I forgot what she's from. She's from something. And I keep getting told that, but I forget. She's from something else Ryokishi wrote. Mavlov? I don't remember. He wrote part of it. Anyways.
起立。
Our teacher finally arrived. Then, finally, I heard the pitter-patter of footsteps running down the hall. Rika was the first to run through the open door. And then Satoko didn't come.
遅刻ですよ、フルデさん。北条さんはどうしましたか？
It was unusual for Rika to be late, but equally unusual for Satoko, a ball of energy, to be absent at all. Everyone's eyes were wide at the series of strange events.
さとこはちょっと遅れるかもしれないのです。
熱でも出ちゃいましたか？
The teacher walked over to Rika, and they started talking in hushed tones.
リカちゃんが遅刻でサトコが欠席なんて珍しいこともあるもんだよ。
そうだね。だけど、さとこちゃんどうしたんだろう。風邪かな。
Why now, when I wanted to see Satoko's energetic face? The unease had been building since last night, tightening within my chest. That had been.
ケイちゃんは心配しすぎ。年頃の女の子にはね、どうしても体の都合で具合が悪くなっちゃう時があるの。
I don't know what that means.
みーちゃん、それ男の子の前で言うことじゃないよ。
Mion laughed indecently. Normally I would laugh along with her, but right now I just didn't feel like it. Homeroom ended, and we all went to talk to Rika in the short time we had before first period started.
ようリカちゃん。
Give us the
遅刻して
deets.
怒られてかわいそうだな。今日は俺がなでなでしてあげよ
I was very aware of my gloom this morning, so I strove to keep my tone cheerful. I petted Rika's head the same way she always did, but she didn't cheer up at all.
みー、
う。さとこはどうしたんだ？風邪か？
For instance, she got a fever from playing around too much yesterday. If that had been her response, I would have accepted it in a flash.
うん。
but the atmosphere around Rika somehow felt heavy. It was a little weird and actually made my unease worse.
ほらほらほら。男の子には話せない事情ってのもあるんだから。ケイちゃんはお席へ戻って戻って。
Mion, acting just like a club president, pulled me back to my chair. Rika-chan's gaze immediately fell back to her desk, and she hung her head gloomily. Rika had said something odd about Satoko might be a little bit late. They were living together, weren't they? Then she would have known for sure. She would have said might. She wouldn't have said might. I didn't understand why she was absent, and that made me all the more anxious. Damn it, what was going on today? It's like we started off on the wrong foot and it wasn't going to get any better.
どうしたのかな、ケイチくん。
I'm freaked out.
今日はなんだか朝から元気ないよ。
I need a hug. Rena noticed how I looked and whispered to me while the teacher wasn't looking.
そんなに俺、元気ないか？
うん。見てるレナまで元気がなくなるくらいに。
The vibes are all wrong. I thought of jokingly saying, then don't look at me, but I didn't feel like doing that.
レナに話せること？どんな悩みかわからないけど、聞いて力になれることなら聞くよ。
I won't tease you. Rena said this looking me straight in the eye.
昨日まで何も変なことなんか起きなくて楽しかったんだ。
Huh? Rena's eyes widened for a moment, not understanding what I meant, but she remained silent and listened.
穏やかで楽しくて、毎日が賑やかで、そんな毎日が繰り返されることに何の不安もなかった。
うん、そうだね。毎日楽しいよ。きっと今日も楽しくなる。
絶対にそうなるって自信が持てるか？
Rena, feeling perplexed, couldn't think of something to say. I didn't blame her. What was I trying to say? It seemed a little confusing, even to me.
思えば、ここ最近不安だったんだ。毎日が楽しいからこそ、ある日ふっと電球が切れるみたいに
Don't let it
突
set
然
in.
真っ暗になってしまうんじゃないかって。
うん。その気持ち、ちょっぴり、レナもわかるよ。
Rena nodded gently.
私たちは、いいことばかりは続かないって、ずっと教えられてきたから。楽しいことの裏側を、時々恐れるよね。それってちょっぴり悲しいことだけど、でもそのおかげで、私たちは、楽しい毎日がずっと続くように、努力することを覚えたんだよ。
そうだな。
だから、ケイチくんが楽しい日々がいつまでも続かないかもしれないって思うのは、決して悪いことじゃないと思うよ。例えば、明日突然火山が大爆発して、私たちが全員死んじゃうとする。
おいおい、物騒な話だな。
例えば、その大災害をケイチくんだけが生き残ったとしたら、どう感じる？
Just take me too. It's fine. Maybe not.
どうって。
If it's the whole world. I imagine myself being the sole survivors in the ruins of Hinamizawa. Rubble and the bodies of friends lying in heaps at my feet. It was such an abhorrent sight. Was it sadder that all my friends had died? Or was it sadder that I couldn't have died with them? I didn't know which, but I'd probably cry a lot.
胸が張り裂けるだろうな。まず、泣くと思う。
そしてこう思うんじゃないかな。こうなることが運命だったなら、昨日までの日をもっともっと楽しく、悔いなく過ごせばよかったって。
I didn't want to consider such a horrible event to be my destiny. But...
思うだろうな。
楽しい毎日がいつか終わるものなら、それがいつかなんて誰にもわからない。
This feels like Rikishi maybe talking to himself, maybe.
たとえ明日そうなっても悔いがないように、精一杯楽しく生きるのが正解じゃないのかな。
そうだな。
それに気づくのはとても難しいこと。多くの人たちは日々の幸せに飽食してるよ。今日と同じ明日が訪れると信じきってるから。今日できることを明日に送る。今日してやれる優しさを明日に送ってしまう。
Rena was usually a cheery and silly, but right now she wasn't like that at all. She was taking my troubles seriously. It was a little reassuring.
でも、圭一くんはそれに気づけた。それはとても素敵なことだと思う。だからその不安な気持ち、大切にしてもいいと思うの。
この不安を大切に？
そう。明日には大災害でみんな死んじゃうかもしれない。だから今日、みんなにいっぱい優しくしよう。本当に週末が訪れた時、後悔しないために。
レナは実践してるのか？明日みんなが死んじゃっても後悔しないようにさ。
うん。
It was such a hyperbolic conversation, but Rena just gave me a nonchalant nod of her head.
レナは、楽しい毎日が、たった一日を境に終わってしまうことを知ってるから。今日が楽しくても、明日も楽しい保証なんかないって知ってるから。生きてるよ。精一杯。
Maybe a little preview of next chapter too. It seemed like Rena perfectly understood all the anxiety I couldn't put into words. And on top of that, like a reliable teacher, she showed me what to do. Ooh. Hey, Keiichi Maibara, there's no need to cry now.
ゆうべ、里子の夢を見た気がするんだ。どんな夢だったかは思い出せないけど、朝からずっと不安で。
さとこちゃんの元気な顔を見れたら安心するつもりだった。かな？
She was right on the money. If everyone had been here with their smiles on their faces this morning, then the murk in my heart would have definitely been blown to smithereens.
じゃあ、さとこちゃんが来たら優しくしてあげることだね。いつもの悪ふざけでも一向に構わない。楽しく過ごすことができるなら。
そうだな。
So that even if these fun days came to an end, I'd have no regrets. I couldn't tell if what Rena told me had been comforting or just made me more anxious. But it was enough to make me think that if I saw Satoko again, I'd be honest with her. Lunchtime arrived, with everyone pushing their desks together like always. Satoko wasn't here. Despite that, we had bento boxes for 5 lined up on our desks. Rika had made the bento for Satoko as well.
さとこ、お昼までには来るはずだったの？
Rika was clearly acting strangely. We were talking to her, but it felt like she was too far away to hear us. I've never seen Rika so downcast. So the rest of us started feeling down too. Hey, Rena. I understood what she had said before pretty well. When we were together, we were supposed to have lots of fun, so we wouldn't have any regrets if the world ended tomorrow. And yet, well, I just resolved myself to do it now. Now we can't all be together. What the hell? Because it was all so sudden, wasn't it? I mean, yesterday was fun, so who could believe it would all end today? No volcanoes had erupted, and no earthquakes or fires had happened either. The cicadas were making the same noises they did yesterday, and the sun remained bright in the sky. It was the same normal day as always. So then why? As I pondered, Rena's chopsticks reached in front of my face and stole the fried chicken out of my bento.
みんなが取らないからレナがもらうね。
That's mine.
おいしい。
No. Rena tossed the entire piece into her mouth and began munching on it, her expression one of bliss.
と、おじさんとしたことが。
Oh, this is sad. Oh, no.
レナに先生を許すとはね。よっしゃ。おじさんはこのプチハンバーグをもらうよ。
They're all trying extra hard now.
見 なくなってしまうのです。
Rika, also behind on the curve, smiled again and went for someone else's bento. As I sat there, dazed at how quickly everyone had changed, Rena sent a wink over to me. Just push it down. Just push all your troubles. Just suppress them. Oh God. Come on, Keiichi-kun. Live life to the... This is dark. Live life to the fullest. That way, if a volcano erupts tomorrow, it'll be okay.
冗談じゃねえ。最後の弁当が梅干しとご飯だけになってたまるか。
You know, maybe sometimes it's alright to feel sad. Jesus.
それ、俺はミートボールをいただくぞ。
Or we can join in. I stuffed the meat into my mouth and constructed a clumsy smile. I played along as if trying to fool myself. But as I did, it rapidly became less and less of an act. Alright, fake it till you make it. Satoko still wasn't here. But at some point, we had gained our lively lunchtime. We had fun, we smiled, and we fooled around. Thanks, everyone. This was definitely the best thing to do. This way, when Satoko suddenly dropped by, we could welcome her with our best smiles. The more I smiled, the more I felt the anxiety from this morning clearing away.
笑う角に福来たるってことわざあったよな。
あるね。それが事実なら、おじさんは四六時中笑い転げてるよ。
レナは本当だと思うな。毎日笑ってれば毎日が楽しいよ。レナがいいことを言いますです。
じゃあ試してみるか。
Everyone took a deep breath, then brought their faces together, locking shoulders. And then... Oh. It's Final Fantasy X all over again. Everyone laughed uproariously from their stomachs, trying to laugh out all of their bad stuff accumulating in them. By the time our bento boxes were empty, everyone was right as rain. Alright, having heard our friendly banter, Tomita and Okamura walked up and timidly spoke to us.
前原さん、楽しくお話し中、申し訳ないんですけど。
Here's the two coming up and bringing over their bad vibes.
ちょっとお力をお借りしたくて。
They grinned dryly and scratched their heads.
なんだよ一体。テストの対策法は以前教えただろ。ちなみに千恵先生が授業中と含み笑いを教科書で隠した時が次のテスト範囲だ。
そうなんですか？
That's not what we're here for, said Tomita, helping Okamura.
実はですね、ボールが2階の雨どいに引っかかっちゃったんですよ。前原さんなら身長高いからなんとかなるんじゃないかと思って。
ほう、先輩に物を頼むからには何か見返りがあるんだろうな。俺は高いぜ。簡単に買収できると思うなよ。
Tomita and Okamura conversed for a short time, then gave the reply.
では、前原さんには授業中に居眠りができる権利を与えましょう。
I do that all the time anyway.
それでどうです？
なんだそりゃ。授業中に寝るのは俺の勝手だろ。なんでお前らに権利をもらわなくちゃならんのだ。
そんなことないですよ。今度は前原さんが居眠りしたら全部先生に言いつけることにしますから。
なるほど、うまいうまい。
こいつらとんでもない交渉の仕方覚えやがって。
すみません。ちょっとした冗談っす。
ほらほら、ゲイちゃん。おとなしく後輩たちの脅迫に屈したら
And now Mion was getting on my nerves. Suddenly it came to me, and I took Tomita and Okamura's hands.
わかった。俺の降参だ。ボールを取ってやるから、居眠りの権利を俺にくれ。
もん。
見ろミオン。俺はちゃんと権利をもらったぞ。でもお前はもらってないよな。富田くん、岡村くん、ミオンが居眠りしたらすぐにチクれ。
It's pretty good.
いいな。
Rena and Rika began to cackle at Keiichi's victory. I wasn't quite sure how the ball managed to get stuck up there, but it was planted firmly in the school building's second floor gutter.
その棒を貸せ。
Gutter? Hand me that. Oh, this. Hand me that stick.
俺なら多分届く。
Oh.
よいしょっと。
I took a bamboo pole and poked the ball with it. Damn, it's hard. Come on.
取れた。取れましたよ、前原さん。どうも、ありがとうございました。
The ball rolled down the gutter. The ball rolled down the gutter and fell down behind the school building. My underclassmen ran over in that direction, leaving me by myself. Mission complete, I guess. Sheesh. There was still a lot of time until lunch break was over. Guess I should go back to the classroom. I'd absorbed myself in a silly conversation with everyone and wait for afternoon classes. Just when I thought that and turned towards the entrance, someone suddenly called out to me. Satoko?
ど
Nope.
うもどうも、こんにちは。お昼休み中すみませんね。
It was a middle-aged man I didn't know. Or maybe I'd passed him a few times, and I'd seen his face, but I didn't know him. When his half-smile deepened, something within me shuddered with fear. There was no basis for that, no reason, but I shuddered. I was somewhat confused about those emotions, not quite understanding them myself. There was one thing I could say, though. Nobody but teachers and students should be at the school. This person shouldn't have been there. I felt less of a tremble and more of a sense of dread, like a caterpillar, brilliantly colored in garish, bilious greens, were crawling over across my forehead. A feeling of disgust that neither itchy nor gross could describe as the frizzly, dreadful hair rubbed against my brow. I didn't even want to see his face. I wanted to jump backwards and run away. An unpleasant feeling for which I didn't even know the cause. The other side of myself has nothing but questions. Hey, what are you doing? What are you disgusted by? This is the first time you've met him. It's rude to hate someone for no reason. No answers were coming. I held my silence, waiting, a damp sweat running down my forehead. When he saw that, Oishi thought maybe he was being intimidating and gave me a relaxed smile.
ああ、失礼しました。怪しいもんじゃないんですよ。私、沖宮警察署から参りました。大石と申します。あれ、手帳どこかな。あれ参ったな。ありゃ
He fished through various pockets, then finally found his police ID and showed it to me, grinning dryly. He may have been trying to use those clumsy-seeming actions to ease my anxiety, but I could definitely say it didn't work. Why was I this nervous? Well, it's a cop. Hold on a second. There was a reason, of course. If I wanted today to be the same as before, then today didn't need someone who hadn't been here back then. The fact that a man who wasn't here yesterday showed up today meant that today would be a different day than those before it. That would mark the end of the fun and happy days. I gulped and erased that ominous conclusion from my mind. Calm down. It's just an old guy who looks kind of perverted and came from the police department. Don't go deciding that the fun times are over. He just came here because of his job. Yeah, just for his job. If he's working, then he would immediately go over to the teacher's lounge, right? The fact that he spoke to me, yes, it must have been to ask where it was.
職員室をお探しですか？なら、あそこの昇降口から入って。
I didn't want to look at this man for another second, so I started pushing things along. Oishi, however, didn't seem to have any interest in that teacher's lounge.
ああ、いえいえ。職員室にはそんなに用事はないんです。それより、お友達を呼んでもらいたいんですが、お願いできますかね？
お友達？誰です？
女の子です。北条聡子さんを呼んできてもらえませんか？
My consciousness grew faint, like I was about to pass out. Yes, my anxiety was realized. The dreadful, disgusting caterpillar was looking at me, about to crawl into my ear. Its frizzly, dreadful hair was touching my ear cavity. That's how bad it felt.
警察が、聡子に何の用ですか？
いえいえいえ、大した用事じゃないんです。2、3聞きたいことがありまして、ご協力をいただければ嬉しいんですがね。
Why? Why of all people was it Satoko? Why would a police officer come here in the middle of the day for something that wasn't important? This man was strange. I could smell it, and it smelled bad. Just a whiff of it made me want to grimace. I knew that this man couldn't possibly be here to deliver her lost wallet or anything. I couldn't imagine what he needed from Satoko, but it had to be something unpleasant. My throat stung with burning pain, burned like a parched, creviced wasteland. The wasteland broke apart in my throat and brought out the words from deep in my mind.
あんたに用はあっても、聡子にはないと思います。帰ってくれませんか？
Based? Telling the police to get away. Oishi probably hadn't expected that reply. He stood there surprised for a few moments. I did as well. I hadn't thought words like that could ever come out of my mouth. Things might still work out. This guy might have shown up out of the blue, but if I drove him off, maybe I could make it so that it had never happened. If I could do that, then I could get it back. The peace we had until yesterday, I could get it back.
これは手厳しいな。あなた、聡子さんのマネージャーさんですかな？アポイントメントがないと面会は叶いませんか？
話がしたいだけなら、電話ですればいいじゃないですか。日中、学校にまで押しかけてくるなんて、明らかに異常です。
Breaking through a dam would have been the perfect analogy to use. Why didn't I like this man? This man shouldn't have been here. I needed to make it so that man wasn't here. Childish, selfish emotions bubbled up from the depths of my mind, and they each came out of my mouth just as it had been formed. Not liking the guy was my own problem. But to say things so bluntly to him, even I thought I was crazy.
ありゃ、いちいち正論な方ですね。こういう言い方をする人は苦手なんだよな。
Man, he could have just said, I don't know where she is and walked away. Damn, look at all this mess he's gotten himself into. Oishi grinned and scratched at his sweaty throat. Even as she feigned stupidity, I could tell he was irritated. Hey, why am I looking for a fight with this old policeman here? It's not like he brought the gift of misfortune with him, all wrapped up in paper, right? Right. It wasn't like he had brought a package of misfortune with him and was asking me to sign here, please. Rationally speaking, I understood all that. So then why was I so... Finally, I outlasted Oishi in our game of silence, and he gave a big sigh. Then he addressed a few of my female underclassmen running around nearby.
もしもし、君たち。ちょっといいですかな。北条聡子さんを呼んできてほしいんですがね。
My underclassmen tried to smile and reply, but they noticed the oddly stiff air atmosphere around me and seemed hesitant to give a quick answer.
いませんか、北条聡子さんは。
北条さんは今日はお休みですけど。
休み。
His face remained smiling. No, it didn't, but his tone was clearly one of ill humor. Such conspicuous spite caused my underclassmen, who had answered honestly, to cringe in fear.
そうですか。いやはやいやはや。これはついてないです。
He was still smiling broadly, but the way he laughed didn't make me feel better at all. When he noticed that his laughter wasn't getting anyone else to laugh with him, he immediately stopped.
で、君たち、ここにいるお兄さんは、なんて名前か教えてくれますか？
Yeah, I remember this from the anime, because this was so aggressive. I was like, God damn. He grabbed the girls by the shoulders so they couldn't run away, and crouched down to address them at eye level. The girls flinched away from the sharp, piercing light in his eyes. And in exchange for their release, they didn't resist and told him my name.
ほう。
So aggressive.
前原圭一さんですか。
He said my full name. That was all he said, yet I couldn't help but shudder. It was like he had grabbed me by the collar just with those words.
あなた、ひょっとして例の前原屋敷の御曹司。お父さん、高名な芸術家さんなんですってね。年に2回ほど東京の大展覧会に出展されてるそうじゃないですか。どんな立派な絵を描かれるかは存じませんがね。お母さんも知的そうな方じゃないですか。高学歴って聞きましたよ。
What'd she do? Can you tell me? I
どこ
already
ぞの
forgot.
女子大を出られてるそうじゃないですか。あの年の女性で女子大でなんてすごいですよ。ひょっとしてお母さん、両家のお嬢さんなんじゃないですか。なんて噂が立ってるせいか。冷たい人だなんて噂が立てられてるなんてご存知で。
Got mad, so now he's getting personal, huh?
町内会の会合、最初の1回以外は出てないでしょう。そういうのっていけないんですよね。こういう土地ではご近所付き合いをないがしろになんかできませんよ。
A sense of eeriness slithered up my spine. That was my first experience of true terror. I couldn't believe it felt this terrible. For someone you've just met, to know everything about you already. Yeah, I hate that too. That sucks. Oishi clamped onto my shoulders and brought his eyes close to peer into mine.
こういう土地ではね、敵は作らない方が絶対にいいですよ。さもないと。
Yeah, he's crushing our shoulder, I think. Oishi dug into my shoulders with inhuman strength.
思わぬところで不利益を受けるかもしれません。
Very Yakuza of him.
因果応報という言葉もありますよ。風が吹けば桶屋が儲かるの正反対です。妙なところで買った恨みが信じられないところで返ってくることがあるかもしれません。そうなったら嫌でしょう。誰だって恨みなんか買いたくないんです。敵を作らないに越したことなんかない。どうしました？ 肩がだいぶ凝ってますね。ちょっと揉んであげましょうか。ほら、気持ちいいでしょ。
This guy sucks. This man wasn't just strong. It was like he knew exactly where to press to make me feel pain. Only 4 or 5 fingers were on my shoulders, and yet the pain made me want to bend over backwards. And it's like the 80s, so he's not going to get much help from anyone. From the police, I mean. A few of the girls from my class were pretty shaken up, but didn't seem to want to help me. Nah, just stay away. They weren't sure if they should all go call the teacher. Probably should, though. As for me, I couldn't take the time to wait until the teacher got here. It hurts.
もうそれくらいになさってください。
This is our savior. Alright.
痛がってますよ。
え？
Behind Oishi, someone, to my disbelief, it was Coach.
おや。これは入江先生じゃありませんか。ご無沙汰しておりますね。
Discomforted by Coach's sudden appearance, Oishi laughed scornfully. The vice on my shoulders, however, remained strong as ever. Dude, let me go.
挨拶はいいです。それよりも、前原くんを離してあげてください。
Oishi smiled daringly and glared straight at Coach. Oh, now he wants to be the alpha. He didn't release me in the meantime, of course.
先生のところにも後でお伺いしようと思っていたんですよ。いつもお忙しいとかで、ろくろくお話ができませんからね。
ええ、お望みとあれば、いくらでもお話を伺いますよ。でもその前に、令状をお持ちになってください。職務質問と任意同行は拒否できますからね。
Coach didn't display a shred of the weird behavior shown at the baseball game and barbecue. Good. He stared steadily at Oishi and fought so that he would release me. His chances were terribly bad, of course. Compared to the relaxed Oishi, Coach seemed like he was being defeated mentally. Really? He seems pretty strong right now. It made sense. Coach had somewhat of a narrow stature, but Oishi's body was packed with muscles. A lot of muscles right there. It wasn't even a contest. But Coach was fighting for me without taking a step back. Beads of sweat formed on his face, and though he paled, he was fighting for my sake. Suddenly, Oishi laughed and let go of my shoulders. My body exhausted, I fell right onto my backside.
前原くん、大丈夫ですか？
くそ。いてててて。
I rubbed my shoulders where Oishi had latched onto them. The pain from falling over went away quickly, but this pain was lingering.
大丈夫ですか？前原くん。ひどいことを。
くそ。いててて。
ちょっと肩を揉んだだけじゃないですか。前原さんも少し大げさすぎですよ。男の子はもう少し我慢強くなくっちゃ。
I wanted to retort, but I couldn't think of anything witty.
肩は上がりますか？痛みますか？痛みが強いようなら、ちゃんと診察をした方がいい。とにかく保健室へ。
Coach lent me his shoulder and walked beside me.
大げさですね。私に限って傷が残るような真似をするわけがないじゃないですか。ねえ。私、これでも現職の警察官なんですよ。
さあ、どんな御用があったか存じませんが、もう御用がないならお帰りを。今日のことは、今度所長さんに直接抗議しますから、そのつもりでいてください。
それは困りますね。
Oishi waved his hands sarcastically, pivoted around, and headed to the car parked by the school gates. And without turning around, he got in and started the engine. Damn it. Who the hell was he? Damn it.
あいつは、大石クランドという刑事です。
Guraldo. I heard an N in there.
乱暴者でね。村中に嫌われている男です。前原さんも用心した方がいい。
Kurando Oishi. Just like I thought, my gut instinct wasn't wrong. He would be the one to bring on happiness, misfortune, something that would ruin our peace. I won't accept it. All these fun days can't possibly end just because some guy like him showed up. I won't accept it. Coach seemed to be familiar with the school, so he brought me to the nurse's office without much trouble. The girls from my class came along as well, looking worried. Our teacher and the principal, having noticed the disturbance, came to see what was the matter.
前原くん、どうしたんですか？怪我でも。
前原さん、さっき校庭で変なおじさんに。
Coach gently interrupted the girls trying to explain.
いえ、ちょっと転んでひねったみたいです。
Why? What are you doing?
大丈夫だとは思いますけど、念のためと思いましてね。保健室をちょっとお借りいたします。
うん。入江先生、よろしくお願いしますぞ。
The principal gave him a deep bow. It looked like the coach was acquainted with the adults at school. He slid open the doors to the nurse's office, but there wasn't a nurse in there or anything. I'd figured. I'd never seen anyone but Chie-sensei and the principal working here. Coach didn't seem to mind the fact that there was no nurse and quickly made his way into the nurse's office. He instructed me to sit down and started washing his hands in the sink. Oh, I get it. He's the coach for the boys' baseball team. He must be pretty used to treating wounds with first aid.
ちょっと、患部を見せてもらえますか？まだ痛みます？
いえ、もう全然痛みません。本当に大丈夫です。
I rolled up my shirt and showed him my shoulder. No bruise, not even nail marks. And yet it hurt so much that I thought my shoulder would be crushed. Even the pain had disappeared without a trace. It hurt so much, but not so much as a bruise remained.
それだけあいつが慣れているということですよ。
Used to it, huh?
今度会った時は挑発しないことです。あいつを怒らせて得をすることは何もありませんからね。自宅に制服警官を連れて押しかけてきたら、ご家族だっていい気持ちはしないでしょ。
それは確かに。
しかし、何があったんです？前原さんがあいつと喧嘩になるなんて。
あいつ、里子に用事があるとか言ってきて。
え？里子ちゃんにですか？
Coach's gaze lowered and his expression clouded a bit. Somehow that gesture seemed to be saying Oishi was bound to come to Satoko, and did, and that it was no laughing matter. Coach fell silent in thought. Quietly, he took a compress out of the first aid kit and put it on me.
あの男はまだ里子ちゃんに付きまとうつもりなんでしょうか。本当に蛇みたいにしつこい男です。
Coach mumbled to himself.
付きまとう？あの大石っていうやつ、たびたび里子のところへ来てるんですか？
Coach didn't answer, but the lack of denial served well enough. What on earth did the policeman, probably a detective or something, need from Satoko? What mistake had led a detective to cling to the sweetly smiling Satoko?
前原さんは、そうか。引っ越してきたばかりでしたね。
ええ、そうですけど。
お社様のたたりと、さとこちゃんの話は、少しは聞いたことがありますか？
Well, I knew a few things about it, certainly.
サトコの両親がダム計画の賛成派で、転落事故で死んだのはタタリだって話ですか？
Coach smiled thinly and dryly. So you know, he said, dropping his gaze. If I recalled correctly, there was an accident on a viewing platform at the public park she'd gone to with her family, and her parents died. And then it was just the big brother and little sister. And then she was with Rika and...
ご両親が亡くなったさとこちゃんとお兄さんのさとしくんは、おじ夫婦宅に身を寄せることになりました。
そうなんですか。
Their parents died in an accident, and Satoshi ran away, leaving only Satoko to start living with Rika. I'd known that much, but this was the first time I'd heard they'd been brought to their uncle and aunt.
おじというのは、さとこちゃんのお父さんの弟にあたる方なんですがね。残念なことに、夫婦揃って、ちょっと尊敬に値する方々ではありませんでした。
Coach normally picked his words politely. So when he came out and said they didn't deserve respect, it really made me wonder what kind of people they were.
さとこちゃんの両親がダムに賛成していたとばっちりで、おじ夫婦も村内ではとても肩身の狭い思いをしていましたからね。さとこちゃんたちを歓迎するはずもなかったんです。さとこちゃんたち兄弟にとってとても辛い生活だったと聞きを読んでいます。
Bit by bit, Coach told me about the numerous agony the Hojo siblings had suffered at their uncle's house. As their guardians, their aunt and uncle sucked up every belonging to their immediate family. Satoko and Satoshi were crammed into a small room, and their lives were laden with things that were miserable for both their bodies and minds. In the first place, since apparently their aunt and uncle weren't on good terms, there was no end to their fighting. And as if in revenge for that, whenever they saw Satoko or Satoshi's face, they would always find fault with them, scold them, yell at them, strike them, and take away their meals as punishment.
今思い出してもゾッとします。今の元気なさとこちゃんしか知らないあなたには、土毛色の顔をして、ただ日陰でぼーっとしているだけの彼女など、想像もつかないでしょう。
I couldn't imagine it, and I didn't want to. That was how I honestly felt. But at the very least, Satoko wasn't like that anymore. She may have had a miserable life in the past, but it was different now. Something happened to change that life.
去年の綿流しのお祭りの夜にね、おばが死んでしまったんです。異常者にバットか何かで殴り殺されて。
Things starting to come back to me.
綿流しの祭りの夜には、村の旧敵がたたりで死ぬと噂されてましたからね。この死も単なる殺人事件としてだけでなく、お社様のたたりではないかと村中で囁かれました。
A few days later, the deviant arrested for drug use confessed to further offenses, and the incident was resolved. However, though it was resolved, no one knew whether the part about it being Oyashiro-sama's curse was true or not.
おじだってひなみ沢の人間ですからね。お社様のたたりを大層怖がり、逃げ出して雲隠れしてしまったそうです。聞いた話では、沖宮あたりの実婚の中の女性宅に転がり込んでるとか。
Actually, doesn't he know this? Okay, I'm trying to like play with a clean slate, right? Like I don't know anything, even though I watched anime. But don't you know what happened to... Okay, let's forget that part for now.
それで解放されたんですか、サトコたちは。
おばは死に、おじは逃げ出し。
Actually, maybe he doesn't know that part about what happened exactly to the aunt.
誰も兄弟をいじめる者はいなくなるはずだったんですが、まるでその後を継ぐように、あの男が執拗に現れるようになったんです。
あの男？
Then Coach lowered his voice just a bit as if being aware of his surroundings.
大石です。
大石。さっきの男。
The events that just occurred came back to me. The hard to describe, ominous sensation I'd felt from him came back to me.
あいつは少しおかしいんですよ。お社様のたたりをめぐる一連の事件はみんな解決しているのに、あいつだけがそれを認めていないんです。
Interesting. Accepted. The incidents were all solved, and the detective supposedly with the police department didn't accept that.
あいつが近づく人間には必ず何かよからぬことが起こると言われています。ひなみ沢ではね、大石のことをお社様の。
The door flew open with a rattle, and Mion came rushing in. Rena and Rika came running in a few steps behind her, and then Tomita, Okamura, and a few of her other classmates.
ケイちゃん、大石にやられたの？怪我を？
落ち着いてミオンさん。怪我はありませんよ。念のため尻尾をしているだけです。
ケイチ君、本当に大丈夫かな？みんなに聞いたら首を絞め上げられてたとか言ってて。
落ち着けよ、レナ。肩をすげえ痛く握られただけだ。ほら、あざだってないだろ。
たく、あんたら何やってんだよ。仲間だろ。なんでぼーっとしてたんだよ。なんでケイちゃんを助けなかったんだよ。
ごめんなさい、委員長。
Mion yelled at her classmates, baring her fangs. Tomita and the others hung their head in silence.
よせよ、ミオン。富田くんたちはその場にいなかったんだ。責めるのはよせ。
くしょー。
She wants to be mad at someone, though.
大石のやつ。
Mion kicked the floor with her heels a few times, her temper running hot. Our teacher, overhearing the commotion, arrived as well.
こらこらこら。保健室で騒がしくしてはいけません。委員長、みんなを連れて保健室から出なさい。
ほらみんな、もう行こう。ケイチ君は大丈夫だって。ほら、みーちゃんも。
Mion was letting her emotions get to the best of her, so Rena stepped in instead and led everyone out of the nurse's office. The detective from Okanamiya Station, Kurundao Oishi. I gotta hear that name again. Oishi. Oh, celebrating early, huh? It looked like the first impression I'd gotten from him hadn't been mistaken. Satoko's absence had amplified the vague apprehension I'd felt since yesterday. And Oishi's appearance basically sealed the deal.
さて、じゃあ私はこれで失礼します。もともと千恵先生に用事があってきたんです。
I wonder if I'm being... Well, I don't know. He's such a weirdo. Like, if I was being too hard on him, but I don't know. He's... Like, why would you write your character to have that tendency? I'm a lolicon. Isn't that funny? Maybe Ryokishi think that's funny.
あ、用事があって学校に来たんですよね。俺なんかのために、どうもすみませんでした。
Don't be so humble, he said, smiling easily.
おかげで役得と言いますか。
Don't make that voice.
前原くんのきめ細やかなお肌も存分に堪能できましたよ。
Fuck this guy.
はふー。
With the usual, for Coach anyway, parting words, he instead continued.
では、失礼します。大した怪我ではありませんが、患部を揉んだりするようなことは、くれぐれも避けてください。
Like, imagine if this guy was written by any Western author. This guy would be the villain.
もしも高熱が出たり、腫れたりするようなことがあったら、すぐに連絡してくださいね。そんなことはないと思いますが。
あ、そうだ、監督。さっき、みんなが来る直前、何か言ってましたよね。大石のことを、お社様のなんとかって。
As he was about to leave the nurse's office, Coach placed a hand on the door and stopped.
ああ、お社様の使いですよ。
That'd be interesting.
もちろん悪口ですがね。
お社様の使い？
前原さんは、ひなみ沢で毎年、綿流しの夜に起こる、ひなみ沢村連続開始事件。通称、お社様のたたりのことはご存知ですか？
Why is he spreading this, though? Like this paranoia. Huh.
連続開始？え？
Now that I thought about it, I did suddenly remember overhearing Mion or someone in class talking about it like a ghost story. On the festival day in June, one person would always die, and another person would be spirited away, but they seem to be called demoning away here. What a fine story that was. I figured they made it up to scare me, but it was true?
一体、どこの誰が言い出したのかもわからない話ですが、いつの頃からか、大石のことを、お社様の使いと呼ぶようになりました。
なぜですか？
あの男が、その年のたたりの犠牲者を決めている、と、噂されているからです。
Whenever June comes around, Oishi would start paying frequent visits to Hinamizawa.
亡くなったり消えたりする人たちの多くが、あの男の執拗な訪問を受けているからです。
4 years ago, it was known that the victim of the dismemberment, rumored to be the sacrifice, had been seeing Oishi numerous times leading up to this incident. The sacrifices 3 years ago were Satoko's parents. Right before their accidental deaths, Oishi had apparently visited their home. The one who disappeared 2 years ago was Rika's mother. And again, people know that before she vanished, Oichi has been talking to her extremely frequently. Oishi. The one who disappeared last year, Satoko's older brother, Satoshi. Satoshi too had apparently been approached by Oishi many times before he vanished. And then this year, this time Oishi was trying to contact Satoko.
冗談じゃないです。
噂ですよ、前原さん。そういう噂がある、というだけです。
I hadn't said that because of the rumors of Oishi being Oyashiro's servant, or his contacting someone foreshadowing who would be the sacrifice that year. It was because the ominous hatred I felt toward Oishi was becoming more substantiated, more real.
さとこ、今日、欠席したじゃないですか。
え？そうなんですか？
That looked like news to Coach. I had thought he might have known why Satoko was absent today, but...
では、失礼します。前原くんも、早くみんなのところに行って、安心させてあげるといいでしょう。
そうですね。そうします。
Coach left the nurse's office and headed toward the teacher's lounge. Interesting. So it's like the cop always knows who might get got. Oh, we're done already. That was a short ass, or I don't know, it felt short. The Hojo family. Every year, Oyashiro-sama's curse claims 2 victims. This means that with 4 years in a row, there have been 8 now, but it's worthwhile to note that half of them have been members of this family. The curse on the second year, a certain falling accident, involved the death of Hojo, a dam proponent, and the disappearance of his wife. She was pronounced dead the following year after having been considered to have been vanished under perilous circumstances. The curse on the 4th year involved the death of the Hojo siblings' aunt, who was then their foster mother, and the disappearance of the older brother. The Hojo family is a poor one, and it's hard to say that Mr. Hojo's job went very well. Apparently, upon reemployment via family connections, there was a plan for them to return to the home of their mother's side of the family. But Mr. Hojo, the eviction due to the Hinamazawa Dam project and the payment of a large amount of compensation money was essentially a windfall. Mr. Hojo actively embraced the Ministry of Construction's negotiations from an early stage and was elected as representative of the dam proponents. It was rumored he had been bought out by the Ministry of Construction for doing so, but the truth is unknown. However, the dam's proponents were in the vastly outnumbered minority. In addition, as the Sonozaki family strengthened its foundation and promised support against the dam, all of the proponents, save for Mr. Hojo, switched over to the anti-dam side, so just one family. At this point, Hinamazawa was completely united against the dam, and Mr. Hojo was held up to ridicule as a stooge of the dam project's proponents. He was essentially used as a scapegoat for the anti-dam coalition. In the end, the dam project collapsed with Oyashiro-sama's curse and the dismemberment incident. However, punishment toward the bitter enemies supporting the dam project continues to this day. There are not many left today who supported the dam project, nor who had a negative reputation at the time. If there were any candidates left to the curse, it's the husband of the housewife who had been beaten to death last year, Teppei Hojo, and Mr. Hojo's daughter, Satoko. Strangely, these two are the only candidates left. Will this year's curse come down on the two of them? There is more than enough value in observing them both. Okay. What is this? Research notes. From who? Maybe EDA? It's not clear. Oishi's post memo. To Oishi-san. There was a call for you from Sector 4's Chief Shigeharu. Apparently the slaughtered corpse in the Ojikawa River is related to the S group, as we thought. We're still verifying what happened behind the scenes, but apparently the deceased filled up a dozen of self-created fictional bank accounts to their limits with money from the S group, reaching around 100 million yen. It appears there were 3 or 4 men with former S group connections involved in this. They've already disappeared with millions of yen. The deceased was tortured on that point for information, and she was clearly slaughtered as an example to others. There are apparently some real wizards chasing down the people who disappeared. They're also spreading letters to related Yakuza groups not to harbor them. There's still no evidence that Teppei Hojo is one of those people. As far as Chief Shigeharu can tell, he hasn't been told anything. He was her pimp, but she didn't trust him at all, did she? Teppei Hojo had left the apartment in Okonomiya and has returned to his former residence in Hinamazawa. Okay. So, one of Teppei's girls was the one who was killed at the beginning. Alright, that was cool. Now it's all starting to get like, now that we're getting into the gritty of it, it's starting to get real good.